Well, the bye week means we don't have work off. We're going to talk about why the Eagles beat the Cowboys and why are they 8-1. You're going to find out. Let's dive into the tape. Eagles game plan presented by Toyota starts right now.
Hey, give nothing, take everything. 1, 2, 3, take it home.
Welcome into Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. We have Mike Quick, Ike Reese, Ashlyn Sullivan here with you this week, and we have so much to break down with this Eagles-Cowboys game. But Mike, I want to start with you on offense. And we go back a couple weeks, and everyone was wondering what is going on with this red zone offense. You see against the Cowboys, they go 3 for 3. Yep. Coach Sirianni says, I feel good about this. But then you see Jalen Hurts in post-game with the accountability that they need to get better going forward. What are your impressions?
So I'm so impressed with the evolution of Jalen Hurts and this entire offense. Even when he's broken and you think he needs to come out of the game, he shows you that maturity. He shows you that leadership. I just love what they're doing offensively. I think they have such a great mixture of youth and veteran leadership on the team. Man, they're getting a whole lot out of an offensive line that in certain areas, you're expecting them to break down, but they just keep on ticking.
I totally agree with you. I thought Jalen's toughness displayed last week was a big key. I mean, teammates feed off of that stuff.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at the quarterback. I look at the defense, right? And it's a defense that's been evolving all year long. You know, a lot of personnel in and out, guys being banged up. We're bringing in new players. I think they're still searching for their true identity. We've seen flashes where they've looked great when you're shutting down the Rams offense in the second half. You know, you shut down that Jets offense for an entire game. We saw what they did against the Miami Dolphins. A lot of good things there with this defense. I think back to that game last week. Probably not their best effort. I'm sure they would tell you that man to man. But the thing that I love about them is their resiliency. And when it came late in the game and Dallas has the ball, 1st and goal at the 6-yard line, the defense stepped up and made its biggest plays of the game. The strength of this defense is the defensive line. And that's what you saw show. And that's really how the Eagles won this game late by keeping Dallas out of the end zone. I like what I'm seeing. And I know that they can play a lot better.
Yes, an awesome game. Cowboys defense only 6 points in the second half. And the Eagles special teams improving as well this season. Let's go to some tape study now, presented by Chickies and Pete's.
Well, joining us this week here for Tape Study, presented by Chickies and Pete's, the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Eagles special teams coordinator Michael Clay. And Coach, I want to take a look back at the first half of the season, some of the best special teams plays from the year. And we'll start with a long kick return from Boston Scott against the Miami Dolphins.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Let's dive in. What makes this one go?
Well, really what makes this one go is actually 13, OZ. You know, we had a key this week that Miami used to play their safety pretty hot on the outside with the 1, so OZ had the huge block to at least kick him out and give Boston the opportunity to return it. But what is really good is off that front side with Josiah Scott, Nolan, and Christian Ellis, all that right side, they're able to do a pretty hard job of blocking one-on-one, and Josiah Scott does actually a really good job of at least shielding Claypool without getting a penalty. A lot of the times on big returns, they get called back because somebody's doing penalty. He doesn't do much but shield them, and it allows Boston, who's a very good returner, to hit the crease and get going. And also who does a great job with 2 young guys, Mekhi Gardner and Keely Ringo down at the beginning. You know, Justin Bethel's been doing this for a long time in this league, and we had the task of, hey, we're going to short set Justin Bethel, and let's try and get him away from the return. And Keely does a good job, and Mekhi does a good job of playing the entire play and getting the double team on one of the better cover players that Miami had. Then the rest is just Boston, you know, running through contact, protecting the ball at the 40-yard line. The cool thing is how excited the offense gets when they get a short field they have to do damage with. We all know our offense is extremely good, and they only have to go really 60 yards for a touchdown. It makes it a whole lot easier for us to get points on the board.
I will say there are a lot of plays to pick from here over the course of the first 9 games, and this one was an easy one to pick because not just the offense being excited, Coach, but we spy you on the sideline. You got pretty juiced up after this play as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kid's game. If you can't get excited for, you know, these guys work so hard from the time they get in Tuesday, get in their bodies right to playing Sunday in front of the link. I mean, it's pretty exciting, and, you know, you always want to play with a little bit of emotion, especially when you put all that work in.
All right, well, let's jump from a kick return into a punt return. This one from Britton Covey against the Bucs in Week 3. What makes this one so successful?
Yeah, and I like to break it down from the perimeter to the interior. And I always preach, hey, we can't get a return started unless the perimeter do their job. And we tasked our perimeter with a lot of one-on-ones. But this time, we felt like we had an opportunity to go 2v1 up top between Josh Jobe and Eli Ricks. against Tampa's gunner than Keeley down here at the bottom one-on-one, because I think Keeley is one of the faster players in the NFL, and he can run with anyone. And that's a huge task. You know, he's so athletic, being able to run with this guy all the way through. And, you know, Tampa Bay has a really good punter in Camarda, and he kind of outkicks his coverage a little bit, so it almost turns into a kickoff coverage for their punt team, which is a little bit different, but it allows Britton some time and space. And what Britton does a really good job with throughout, you know, this year is he's always gaining ground. A lot of guys want to go east and west and cut it up. He's always going north and south. Then he makes the cut, you know, because the coverage team thinks he's going outside, but he really gets going up north and south, and he does a heck of a job using his speed, get to the outside, you know, flipping the field again for our offense. You know, field position is the biggest thing. Then from the interior, a lot of times he kind of gets overmatched or overlooked is Nolan Smith and Derek Barnett on the edges. So what they do is they compress the pocket and don't allow the wings to get out, and it puts a little pressure. The punter has to speed up his operation. So they do a great job of compressing the pocket, no different than a pass rush.
Sure.
He's got to doesn't get all the way through, then it's a lower ball. Now it gives us an opportunity now to get a return with low hang time. Then Covey right here does a great job of just stretching the coverage, then getting north and south. And you can see, you know, when he's able to do this, get squared up, he has an outstanding vision. Then Sidney's kind of his lead blocker, almost like we're running a sweep play onto the long snapper, and that allows time for Covey to get a huge return. But if we rewind it back just a hair, Christian Ellis makes this play go down here at the top, because you can see he's blocking two guys at once, both legally right there. Then he's able to give that lane for Covey.
Well, we've talked a lot in this segment about some of the rookies on this team, and here are two plays in punt coverage of some of the young guys here on this roster. We'll start Sidney Brown doing a great job as a punt gunner.
Yeah, he does a great job. You know, one-on-one, we preach to our gunners that, you know, the vice is they're in a back pedal, they're in a disadvantage. So we got to win one-on-one regardless of the situation. Now, the Patriots, they do a lot of deep drop guys, so Josh Jobe commands the second guy, basically a double team, so it allows Sidney to be one-on-one. And Sidney has great speed, and he's very physical going through, and a great job of not stopping his feet. You know, we say arrow to the side of the heart, to the side you're at, so he does a great job of that and not stopping his feet against a very dangerous returner. Marcus Jones accelerates through, and you can see everybody's excited. Grant, Jack, they do a heck of a job of just, you know, pumping that energy. That's what special teams does. We're big energy guys, so we're able to do that and help our defense out with, you know, a little boost of life right there is great.
And then how does that differ from this play the very next week against Minnesota, where Keely Ringo, he's got to do a little bit of the opposite, where he does have to kind of break down on this return?
Correct. A little bit different in the time and distance. Now, Keely gets, you know, cut off just a hair being the right side gunner, but he does a great job of understanding his leverage. So he does a great job. He slows it down. The ball's coming closer to him, so it's a little bit shorter. So now I got to throttle down just a hair and keep it on my inside leverage and make a play with 15 seconds left. You know, they're really trying to score a touchdown or whatever it may be. Now they got to go 80 plus yards in a short amount of time. So great job out of those two young guys. You know, when their number is called, they've been ready to go. Really excited for the second half of the season with these guys.
Come on, come on, come on. Boy, knock my shoulder pad loose. God damn, man. Come on, AJ, make the most of their opportunity right here. Let's go.
A.J. Brown mic'd up against the Dallas Cowboys, the same game he reaches 1,000 yards in Week 9, and someone who absolutely helped with that milestone is quarterback Jalen Hurts, as we bring in Greg Cosell from NFL Films. And Greg, I know when people think of Jalen Hurts, they think of this dual threat quarterback who makes plays outside the pocket, but the throws he's been making inside the pocket have really stood out.
You know, Ashlyn, and it's not just the throws. The throws are really good, but it's his ability to eliminate and isolate, process, as everybody likes to say, at a really much higher level than we've seen before. He's continuing to get better and better and better. And there was a play in the game against the Cowboys that I think really reflected that. And that's a play I want to show because I think it speaks to his development at a high level. So let's go to this play. It was a 3rd down and 9 play, and it ended up being a 19-yard completion to Devonta Smith. But the reason this play is so critical is because you're playing the Cowboys. And what do you expect from the Cowboys? You expect man coverage and a single high safety. That's what he looked at initially when he saw the defense. So right now he's thinking, hey, maybe I've got A.J. Brown, who's the boundary X receiver, the receiver to the short side of the field. Maybe I've got him one-on-one against Stephon Gilmore. That's what you're thinking. That's the matchup you like. But now as the ball snapped, the Cowboys go late rotation and they change the defense. They change everything about it. So now, keep in mind, as a quarterback, you have maybe a second to figure this out. And what does the defense become, the coverage? It actually becomes cover 2. And you can see that Lewis, who's the slot corner, he becomes the middle hole defender. You can see Hooker, he actually expands. So Jalen sees all this. So now he works the zone part of this, which is a high-low concept with Goedert running the shallow and Devonta Smith running the intermediate crosser. And he throws a beautiful ball into the zone void to Smith for 19 yards, and it's a completion and a 1st down. That was really, really high-level quarterbacking by Jalen Hurts. And Ashlyn, that's what we've seen a lot of this year.
Greg, when you watch that work from the pocket, do you believe that this is the area where he's developed the most?
I would say yes, because I think, look, there's certain quarterbacks, Jalen does fall into this category. Patrick Mahomes falls into the category, Josh Allen, where every once in a while, it's just in their DNA, they leave a little too soon. And you know what? You live with that. But I think Jalen has advanced to the point where that's not an issue in his game. We all know that, when he first became a star in his first year, that he would do that because that's the way he kind of was brought up playing. He was probably the best athlete on the field from the time he was 10 years old, and he always knew he could do that. But now he's developed. My guess is he's worked at that really hard, both physically and mentally, because that's a mental thing as well. You have to train yourself to stay there because there will be bodies around you. It's the NFL. But I think that's an area where he's significantly improved. And for me, maybe I'm old school, Q, and a quarterback purist, but I really think that that is an important thing in this league.
Major reason why the Eagles are 8-1 going in the bye is Jalen Hurts. Greg, thank you so much for your time and insight. We'll catch you up later in the show.
Thanks, Ashlyn.
Well, the bye week means we have a lot to discuss, but it is not all good news. Dallas Goedert, this injury, we're not sure how long he's going to be out, but we know, Mike, it's going to be a blow to this Eagles offense. We've seen what's happened when he is not in the game. He's a very important player. How are the Eagles going to make up for this?
They're so effective with Goedert on the field, and he can do so many things. I don't know if there's a better tight end in the screen game than Dallas Goedert. So you have to, there's going to be multiple people. I think A.J. Brown, if you put A.J. Brown in certain spots where you have Dallas Goedert running routes, I think that's going to be a part of it. There are multiple ways to do it, but when you're missing a guy like that, there's so much that you have to do. There's so many different people that you're going to have to use just to make up for him because he's such a big part of this offense.
Welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. The Eagles going into the bye week right now, 3rd in the NFL with 30 sacks, and that defensive line is the heart and soul of the defense as we bring back in Greg Cosell with NFL Films. And Greg, I wonder, how is this defensive line maybe different from last season?
You know, Ashlyn, I'm glad you brought that up because one thing you really noticed, and I noticed it right on tape from the first game of the season, is this team stunts a lot more than they did a year ago under Jonathan Gannon. So that's something that Coach Desai obviously believes in because you're seeing it more and more every single week, and they've been effective with it and effective in critical leverage, high leverage situations. So I want to take you back to the Miami game. 4th quarter, a 3rd down situation, and you're going to see, in a sense, a double stunt on both sides. So let's take a look. So what you're going to see, let's actually start to the side where the sack doesn't come from. They're going to run to that side, what we call a TE stunt, where Cox goes first as the tackle, and then Hassan Reddick loops behind him. So Cox is the penetrator, Reddick is the looper. So that's to that side, and notice that the center is going to that side. He's sliding to that side to deal with Reddick. Okay, so that's taken care of actually really well by Miami. But now let's go to the other side, and this is where the sack occurs. Look at Josh Sweat. He is really a wide 9 defensive end, and he is really wide. And then you've got Jordan Davis, who's essentially a two-technique defensive tackle. And they're going to run here a different kind of stunt. This stunt's going to be an ET stunt because Sweat's going to go first. And you know for sure that this offensive tackle, he's thinking with Sweat's alignment that he's going to rush up the field. But Sweat slants so hard inside, he beats the tackle as the penetrator in the stunt, and he is able to make the sack. This is really beautifully done by Josh Sweat, and they get a sack in a high leverage critical situation in the fourth quarter. But that's what you notice on film. This team stunts a lot more than they did a year ago, and they do it very effectively.
Gee, I love that breakdown, but what sticks out to me is when that play occurred. It's late in the fourth quarter. There's less than less than 4 minutes left in the game. And not only that game, but you go back to the Dallas game, when the team really needed big plays from their defense, needed their defensive line to step up, they still had it. And I have to believe that the way they handle the snap count, making sure that they have guys that are fresh in the fourth quarter is a huge part in why they're so successful in the fourth quarter. Brandon Graham making a big stop in the fourth quarter. Josh Sweat making a big stop in the fourth quarter. Talk about the importance of that, the snap count, and making sure that they're still throwing fastballs when you get to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I think that's a key part of being able to rush the quarterback. You know, it's funny, I noticed that a lot when I watch college tape, how some defensive ends who might be great athletes with great traits, they're always a beat late off the ball. In the NFL, if you're a beat late off the ball, you lose. And I think the Eagles do a really, really good job with that, where these guys, they time the snap really, really well.
Welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. It is that time of the show, bye-week edition, to call your shot. Mr. Quick, you're up first.
So this one's an easy one. I think Haason Reddick, you know, once he got the cast off of his hand and he started to play like Haas of old, you can't stop him. His speed, his hand-to-hand combat, his ability to now get a guy going up the field and go underneath him and get to the quarterback. Haason Reddick will lead the league in sacks. That's my bold prediction. That's going to happen the second half of this season.
I like that. I like that. The reason
Talk to me, Ike.
Well, I'm going to tell you the reason why I really like it, because usually you get more sacks when the opposing team is trailing and they have to throw the ball a lot. So that to me means the Eagles are going to be up a lot in these games. And the reason they'll be up a lot because the MVP of the league, Jalen Hurts, right? I think Jalen Hurts, by the end of this season, finished second last year to Pat Mahomes. He's off to another great start. Listen, I know we can nitpick at certain things, but you'll be hard-pressed to find another quarterback in this league playing better than Jalen Hurts has played through 9 games. The team has the best record in the league. They've overcome the myth of you get off to a sluggish or slow start. If you're the team that lost the Super Bowl the prior year, all those types of things, they fought through all of that. The way that he's played, the way that he's persevered, I think he's only going to get healthier and better the second half of the season. A lot of games on the schedule where everybody's going to have to take notice. At the end of the year, QB1 will be MVP.
What say you?
I think something that's going to help Jalen Hurts win MVP is A.J. Brown is going to win Offensive Player of the Year. Which I don't even think is that big of a statement nowadays because of the way he's playing, but receivers have won it the past 2 years. Justin Jefferson last year. I think we all can argue A.J. Brown is having just as good of a year as Justin Jefferson had last season.
Oh, yeah. And I like that race because that's going to be between A.J., Tyreek Hill, and Christian McCaffrey coming down the stretch. So I like A.J.'s chances.
I like it.
All right, Eagles fans, write all of that down. We'll see if it comes true. Enjoy the bye week, and thank you so much for tuning in to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. We will see you next week.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by Pepsi, Zero Sugar. Zero never tasted so good. That's what I like. Toyota, your local tri-state Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy.